we don't have too many left because we're going to be turned down. But we had real concerns about Senate Bill 310, which is why we're here today. And I don't know why Senate Bill 310 was pulled today from both committee and the floor, but I'm happy and thrilled that it was. And I'm hoping it stays gone. It doesn't rear its ugly head today again. But we wanted to talk about it anyway, just because I think that the rumors are that it's going to come back in some form sometime. And at least for me, one of the things that I think has been given short shrift in the discussions is the impacts that 310 has on environment and climate. And so I hate to do this. I passed out kind of a one-pager there. I'm going to bore you with some details, but this is stuff that I think is important, that I think that the debate needs to discuss and have talked about, because look, we've all got kids, we've all got grandkids, we've all got relatives who have to live on this planet for a long time after we're gone, and after this vote is done with, and this vote will detrimentally affect climate impact. So. The economic statistics we have been inundated with. Energy efficiency dollars bring a 2-to-1 return. Failure to keep the renewable portfolio standards and energy efficiency standards will cost thousands of jobs in emerging industries. If we freeze the energy efficiency standards and the renewable portfolio standards, it'll cost residential consumers between $100 and $150 a year. We just got that report last Friday. To vote for a bill that does that in and of itself seems to me to be irrational. But adding in the environmental impacts makes a vote in favor of Senate Bill 310 frankly immoral. I passed out this paper with the 3 graphs on it, and I just wanted to go through them with you real quick. The first graph shows a 400-year progression of CO2 in the atmosphere, carbon dioxide. When in balance, carbon dioxide is no problem for our atmosphere and for our planet. In fact, it's necessary for us to live in an appropriate amount of heat from the sun to remain on Earth. For 400,000 years, there was fluctuation from about 200 to 300 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. Over 400,000 years, that was the norm. So you look at the graph, you can see a huge, huge spike over the last 150 years correlating with the Industrial Revolution. This March 2014, we had for the first time over the last 400,000 years a spike in which we made it over 400 parts per million of carbon into the atmosphere. In the month of April, we averaged just over 400 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. Not coincidentally, we should all know that April 2014 was the second warmest April globally on record. The second graph shows the scientific consensus around global warming and what is causing it. The scientific consensus is based on scientists doing science in peer-reviewed journals. It's not bloggers, it's not politicians, it's not 501c4 organizations. It's real scientists doing what they're trained to do, which is engage in the scientific method and explore the nature of reality. So of over 13,000 peer-reviewed papers on some aspect of climate science, over 97% agree that global warming is occurring, that we are the cause of it, and that the consequences are dangerous. It's 97%. It's not 30%, not 50%, not 70%, but near unanimity with 97%. Frankly, even if it was just 50%, we should all be scared into action. But the scientific community has spoken, the people who know this stuff, the people who are trained in the science, the people who are experts in the field, 97% agreement. Global warming is happening, it is caused by greenhouse gas emissions, and it has very real and negative consequences. The third graph is about the consequences. You can read it yourself, but it's clear that temperatures both in the atmosphere and the sea are rising. It is causing glaciers and ice caps to melt, storms to become stronger and deadlier, local ecologies to change, migration patterns of animals to change. At some point, if unabated, it will change migration patterns of people as coastal areas will be underwater and storms associated with hurricanes and typhoons and tornadoes more devastating. In the face of what we know is happening, Why would we go backwards in mitigating CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases we put into the atmosphere in the air? Ohio is the 4th largest emitter of carbon, and the 5th largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere in the United States. The United States is still the largest emitter of greenhouse gases on the planet. Freezing our RPS and energy efficiency standards at current rates will cost us millions of tons of CO2 that could have been taken out of the atmosphere. That would not contribute to a warming planet, that would not contribute to ice caps melting and local ecologies changing. The old saying is that when you are stuck in a hole, stop digging. The RPS and energy efficiency standards, to be honest, I think could be stronger and more robust, but let's not dig ourselves in an even bigger hole. That's crazy, that is irrational, it's completely irrational. Given the consequences, the scales of what Senate Bill 310 would do, I think it's more than just irrational, it's immoral. The Ohio Environmental Council sent me this the other day. In 2013 alone, Ohio's energy efficiency standard reduced greenhouse gas emissions by a total of over 1 million tons of greenhouse gases, nitric oxides, and sulfur dioxide, which is a known lung irritant. In 2020, if the standards remain on track, these benefits would be even greater. The policy would reduce over 9 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions, nearly 8,000 tons of nitric oxide, and over 22,000 tons of sulfur dioxide. I'm going to turn it over to Hagan, but that's why I think this bill is so harmful, so devastating, is that in the face of what we know is daily reports we get on the effects of climate change and what impact it's going to have on our society, to freeze our standards just seems to me to be absolutely irrational and immoral.